So if you want to link up your bank account, you click right here. Let me do add. So you want to go to banking right here, click on banking, click add account, link account. It's going to open up a pop-up from Plaid. So your bank account integration goes through Plaid. Plaid is the same company that companies like Venmo, Wise, and a couple of the large companies use. So we use their integration to link up your bank account. You want to click on agree. They have pretty much all the banks they integrate with nationwide, but whichever bank you're integrating with, these are some of the most widely used banks: Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. But whichever bank you have, if you have like a credit union, just type in their name or URL, it's going to pop up. The name, just select that. Otherwise, just go ahead, select if you have a Chase, you'll put in there. It goes through authentication process with your bank. Just click that and put in your username, password. And with Chase, I have a two-factor authentication. They'll send me a text message. I'll have to input the code right there, put in my information, only then it'll be verified, and I'll get a message from Chase also letting me know that REsimpli integrated through Plaid. So that's where I know kind of what's going on. But once you've integrated your bank account, credit card accounts, it's going to pull up by default. When you link up your bank account, it will only pull your transactions for that specific month. So today's April 11th. So if I link up my bank account, it will only download my transactions for the month of April. But if you want to download all the transactions that you have, you want to go in right here, click on get historic transaction, and then just select the date. Just by default, it does this month. But let's say if I want to get all the transactions for starting this year, I think it goes back 24 months. But let's say if I want to get all my transactions from the beginning of the year, I just click this year, click right here, submit, and it'll pull all the transactions from the first of the month or first of the year to now, and then you have all the transactions. So that's how you link up your bank account. And if for some reason your bank doesn't integrate through Plaid and you want to add your bank account manually, go into add account, click on manual account, and then you want to enter the name. Let's say I'm going to do Chase Bank. Account type, checking, savings, credit card. Let's say checking. Account number, I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4. And balance. So you want to put in the beginning balance whenever you are, if you're inputting your transaction from the beginning of the year. So you want to put the balance that you had in your bank account starting Jan 1st. Let's say I had $10,000. I'll put the balance date as Jan 1st. So as you're inputting the transaction, anything after Jan 1st, it will update your bank balance right here. Anything before Jan 1st, it will not include it because you've already put in the balance as of Jan 1st of $10,000. So, and if you want to enter any transactions, once you've linked up your bank account, let's say I want to go into, this bank account and I have this transaction. So what I would want to do is it will pull all my transactions. I'll go right here. And then I'll select the vendor that you want to add. So if you want to add additional vendor, you just click right here. Let's say I'm going to do new vendor today. You want to select the vendor type, whatever vendor type it's. So now with the update that we made recently, it integrates the accounting section of the vendor, fully integrates with the vendor section that we have in contact. So let's say this is my contractor, and then I'm going to select contractor type. Let's say this is my flooring guy. I go ahead and do that. I'll automatically select that. And property address would be, let's say this is just a general business expense, and this is going to be, let me see, other repair expense. So once I do that, it automatically selected this as money going out of my bank account. I highly recommend that if you have the invoice or whatever documentation you have, I've gone through a pretty bad IRS audit myself, but luckily I came out without paying any penalty, any fee, because I had all the documentation for my transaction. What you really want to do is you want to click right here, add files, and attach the invoice that you have from the vendor. So if you were to get, audited, you could always come back to this transaction, the document that you have, the invoice or whatever receipt that you have from that vendor will be saved right here, and you can just download it and submit it for the IRS audit. So the way I went through IRS audit was they just pulled a bunch of different transactions from my tax return and say, can you provide proof for, $50,000 worth of interest expense that you have, or proof for this high repair expense or whatnot. And I had all the receipts. So I went in, submitted all the receipts, they reviewed it. They had some follow-up questions, I provided additional information, and that was it. So you want to make sure you're keeping really, really good documentation of the transactions that you have. I don't think there's any limit to how many files or you can upload, but at least like if you have copy of the check, invoice and whatnot, start getting into the habit of attaching. And then additional description, transaction memo that you have, the more information you have, the better. Once you do that, save based on the transaction that you made, based on the transaction memo, it will recognize the transaction, move it over to the recognize tab. So if it matches, based on a transaction memo, the system will assume that you're paying the same vendor for the same property from the same account tab, and it will always do it based on the last transaction that you did. So let's say all of these were to the new vendor today, property address is correct, account tag, I can just click confirm. It will move over all the transactions over to that vendor, to that property, and to that account tag. And then I can go ahead and I can go into the vendor tab, and I can go right here, go into the financials, and it'll show me all the money that I've spent to that vendor. So now it consolidates, keeps a central place for everything that you're doing with that vendor, all the communication, any text messages, calls, any financial document that you have, or any transaction that you've done. You can see exactly how much money you spent paying that vendor. And then you can also go into the report section. You can go into the income statement, and it'll create an income statement for you for the year it defaults to this year. And I'll show you like how much money you've made from all your transactions, and it'll organize based on the transaction type that you have, whether it's fix and flip income, wholesale income, or we'll go into that one of those transactions. But this is where all the repair expenses that I had, it got added right here. I can click right here. It'll take me to the list of all the transactions for that vendor that I just added new vendor today.